ladies and gentlemen, please welcome political analyst and host of the Straight Shot No Chaser podcast. Y'all give it up for Tezlyn Figaro. Come on, y'all.
Yes, sir. Good morning.
Tezlyn, man, listen, good morning. Thank you so much for coming on. I'm going to be honest, man. Ben Crump, my frat brother, sent me your clip, and I was like, we got to have her on. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
And it's an honor. Thank you so much for having me, to the entire family, and shout out to Attorney Crump. He's always out there pushing the line, working hard for us, and certainly appreciate his support.
Right. I'm going to go off the sheet, because I have a list of questions, but I'm going to go off the sheet, and because I saw the clip when you was talking about police brutality, how when they, victimize black people, how they try to go, just like Trayvon Martin, try to go out and figure out what his high school record is and try to criminalize, black people. And all of a sudden, they come out they'll find a picture of Trayvon, with the gold in and just try to make him look bad. And they start researching Breonna Taylor's record to see if she have a criminal record to try to make them look bad. What was you explaining to Ben Crump about that and why? And then the second part of the question is, do you think? Let me figure out how to properly propose it because I don't want to get kicked off the air. But go ahead, answer that first question for me.
Okay. Well, what we talked about the fear tactic. The fear tactic, Ricky, and this is a kind of transition probably into the second thing you want to ask when it goes into voting. The fear tactic has always worked. It's always worked traditionally. We've seen it work with Republicans and Democrats. I typically try to keep my message nonpartisan. But the thing that we talk about with fear is fear has always worked. One of the things that Democrats are really getting wrong when we start talking moving people to the polls is really think about this, Ricky. Who is more afraid? Do you think Republicans are more afraid of losing power that they've always had? Or do you think that Democrats are more afraid of losing power that they never got? Let me break it down to you this way. If I've never had power, if I'm poor, if I'm middle class, if I've never had access to power, do you think I'm more afraid of losing something that I never had in the first place, or is somebody who's always been superior, always been in power, more afraid? So what has happened is we have really, I really believe that we're getting this campaign message wrong. We're focusing on one, fear of Trump. Their fear factor is greater than ours. Two, we're focused on saying, well, do it because your ancestors did it. That's not enough to motivate. The only thing that's going to motivate people to get involved, to actually make police reform actually work. There's been over 100 cities, Ricky, that have changed police reform since the killing of George Floyd. A lot of folks don't know that because we have not made our message centralized to how it would affect them on the state level. One thing that Ben loves that I talk about is the main chick and the side chick. We all know that keeping the main chick, keeping the wife happy wife, happy life. We must keep the main thing. And your state level issues are the main issues that affect you in your everyday life. And the key to winning this election is making sure that you understand the main issues that will affect you the day after you move out, the day after you vote. And then we have to do something getting the swingers to the polls. When I told everybody I'm starting a swinger party, I said, what's going on? I knew that if I get folks on something freaky, maybe they'll pay attention. We're looking for all swing vote freaks. All swing vote freaks come to the front of the congregation so that we can start talking about how we're going to swing. If your wife ain't happy, let's get a swing in a situation. What I mean by that is we need all swingers in all of these 8 states, swing vote states, Arizona, Florida, Georgia, Michigan, Minnesota, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, to be all hands on deck. Everybody knows somebody in Georgia, a homie, a lover, a friend, a stripper, a pastor, somebody you know in Georgia. If you can get people to the polls in Georgia to understand why they need to vote. Example, in Georgia, I don't know if you guys know this because they put zero money behind this. There is an amendment on the Georgia statewide ballot that says when you vote on money, your taxes to go towards certain laws, it's actually supposed to go to that law. A lot of folks don't know that. You go in and you vote for things to happen, but then on the back end, they come in and put the money into something else. So just that one amendment alone in Georgia. That one amendment alone should bring people to the polls. Or in Florida, another swing state, there's an amendment on the ballot right now that says that minimum wage will be raised to $15 in 2024. People don't even know that, Ricky. If they knew that, they would come to the polls. We have to get people to the polls to know there's 11 states that have police reform that will change right now the day after you walk out the polls. If we keep talking about over and over, got to get Trump back, everybody ain't scared of Trump, Ricky. Everybody's not. You may be disgusted by him. You can say he's racist. You can say whatever. All politicians lie. Trump is better at lying than your average politician. He's a hell of a message sender. And because he can motivate his base, because his base is coming out in droves without a mask, and because we are pushing absentee, just vote absentee, we are taking a major risk instead of saying crawl over glass, wear a mask.
I swear.
There has to be a state of emergency with getting people to the polls, and they must understand how it affects them on the local level.
I think they're coming. I really think they're coming. I don't think a lot of black people trust the system and going to go out there and take a risk and vote because they are, people are just kind of gotten used to the coronavirus and just kind of out and about and simply wearing a mask and washing their hands. And I think people are coming, and I think you're going to see the folks that didn't show up in 2016. What do you think about that, Tezlyn?
I believe we're coming. The question is, are we pushing the message for them to come in the 8 swing states? How often do you hear that? They can come all day long in California. But if the swingers don't show up in the 8 swing states, it doesn't matter. People still don't understand the electoral process. So we all hands on deck. Those of us that have a microphone have to continue to understand strategy. This is why Republicans win time and time and time again. It's important to come in California. Don't get it twisted. There's I believe, over 10 different amendments that are important with police reform in California. But if they're not coming in these 8 states, if we're not strategically penetrating in these 8 states, which, by the way, all of these states have very low black populations, we need every single person to come. You look at Florida. They just passed the law for felons to have the right to vote. But then guess what they did? They ran off with the plug twice, like Ply said. They gave them they gave them the option to vote, and then they took it back and said, well, you know what, you got to pay your fines and you got a deadline before that must be paid in order for you to vote. Because they know that almost 50% of those felons in Florida, if they get an opportunity to vote, they will win. They know that 100,000 people made the difference between Hillary Clinton winning and not winning. And how do they remove those people? By running off with the plug like they did in Florida. I like to use hip-hop in my vernacular, so people got to keep up. I go from Bishop Don Juan to Bishop Jakes to Plies.
Yes,
you just got to roll
cute.
with it. Yeah.
Yes, you speak their language. You speak our language.
That's it. But Charlamagne the God calls me the hood whisperer. So that's the type of strategy, that we have to have, Ricky, or we're going to lose. And I blame Democrats for this. Not because I don't love Democrats, not because I know that they don't love my people, but they know this, Ricky. They know this. They know this better.
Special K and I have been how many days that we sat on the phone for hours and argued about just how weak the Democratic Party is and how docile they are and how Republicans, they don't care. They just care about power. Okay, go ahead.
And Tezlyn, I got a question, Special K. I got a question for you too. Well, how do you overemphasize, or how do you not overemphasize to black people what we have at stake in this particular election? That's what I preach about every single day.
Well, that's because you have to make it make sense. We always say make it make sense. How does it make sense? If you know in California, there's an amendment on the ballot right now in California that says a certain amount of money they will guarantee will go back into the community, opposed to just all the money going to policing. Instead of them talking about defund the police, make it real. We're not making it real. We're not making it tangible. We're just talking. Unless you make it real, because you have to take Biden and Trump out of the conversation. Because the bottom line is Biden should be out. I don't give a damn if he got to wear 2-3 masks, a full plastic suit, if he got to go behind a bulletproof glass. He should be out here talking to these folks every day. I don't agree with 100% virtual online campaign. I just really don't. That's the difference between me dating somebody on Black People Meet versus us meeting up. At some point, we're going to have to meet up.
Oh, God.
You know what I mean?
Somebody come get this lady.
Break it down, Tezlyn.
But that's real. So let's take Biden out of a situation since we got to do this ourselves. We cannot, if you get an absentee ballot, and I'll say this because I know our time is short, to push 100% absentee is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I did a remix the other day, The Dumb Girl, Run DMC. I know you remember that Brad Tat 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 on that ass. I just want to be able to say that right quick. But I did a remix. I did a remix to Run DMC Dumb Girl because I try to get people to understand this campaign is the dumbest campaign I've ever seen. Why would you be pushing 100% voting on absentee? Number one, you're hoping you get the ballot on time. Number two, you're hoping that that it makes it back to the post office. In North Carolina, a swing state, there were over 200,000 ballots that never got delivered, undeliverable. I'm not even talking about fraud. I'm just talking about what if their address isn't updated. Then you're hoping it gets there back on time. You're hoping it's postmarked on time, and you're hoping that they count it, and you're hoping that there's no fraud, and there's no way you actually know if it's counted. It's not like you get a return receipt that say, hey, we counted your vote. This is why we must push going to the polls. If you can't go because you're disabled, you're sick, you're elderly, you need an absentee, that's cool. But everybody else should be going to the polls. This is where they're losing the race. And we can't just take for granted that everybody going. It's not enough. It has to be more strategic.
Hey, Tezlyn, what you doing for the rest of the week? Can I have you back this week, please?
Absolutely. I got more metaphors that I like to drop in now.
Tezlyn, what day you want to come back on next week? I got to have you back. I swear.
Whenever you want, honey. And I just thank you for the opportunity, Rickey. I was there standing right behind you, actually, at Praise in the Park with Breonna Taylor. I was standing literally right behind you and Trayvon Martin. Yep, I was standing right behind you. And when I got up, did
we meet? Did Ben introduce us?
No, we didn't. I was just standing watching you clown and joke with Trayvon's mom, and I was just enjoying. I just sit back in the cut. I'm like a Republican. I'm a Republican. I sit back in the cut and strategize. See, that's what they do.
That's right.
That's what they do. That's what they do, and that's why they win. They sit back. They strategize. Shout out to Killer Mike, who always says they plot, strategize, organize. And that's exactly how we move our vote. I was watching you the whole time. I was in.
Hey, Tezlyn, real quick, give us your info, and I'm gonna have you back this week. Give us your info real quick, how we can reach you.
All right, I always say this before I leave. Choose it, lose it, but I can't make you choose it. www.TezlynFigaro.com. You can catch me on Straight Shot Don't Chase the podcast. That is on the new Charlamagne the God Black Effect Network podcast. I know I probably shouldn't say that because you do your own thing in radio, but maybe you'll have me back.
We're gonna have you back this week. And y'all give it up for Tezlyn Figaro.